This is PIX on Politics with Dan Mannarino.
And welcome to PIX on Politics, everybody. I am Dan Mannarino, and the general race for New York City mayor is certainly on. Even after an unexpected and significant defeat in the Democratic primary, former Governor Andrew Cuomo rebooting his run, saying, you know what, he's in it to win it with its independent run. He's promising supporters a whole new approach to campaigning, no longer playing it safe. And he's calling on the other candidates in the race to band together at the end in order to defeat Democratic nominee Zohran Mamdani. But will we see a different Cuomo on the campaign trail? Now, I caught up with him this week as the mayoral candidate, met voters near the 2nd Avenue subway to discuss just that. Here's more. Governor, here we are again. Round two.
Round two.
Okay. I want to take a look back before we look ahead. So taking a look back, I've heard you say in the last couple days that you didn't campaign the way you wanted to. Can you be specific? Where did it go wrong?
The campaign played it too safe in a lot of ways. As you know, because you were covering the race, everyone said we were way ahead, and the campaign played it too safe. That was a mistake. I take responsibility for that. We didn't do enough work reaching out to younger voters, and there was an explosion of young voters in this election that literally flipped the model, and that's why the polls were wrong. And I didn't do enough work reaching out to those younger voters, especially on social media. Learned my lesson, and it won't happen again.
I want to talk about the polls for a second. PIX 11 in the Emerson College poll probably was the closest. It had Mamdani winning in the final round. You called it an outlier. You said that the poll wasn't accurate, and you dismissed polls that had you tightening. And I say this respectfully, was it arrogance?
No, it was an outlier. That was one poll that said that versus 30 that said something else. That's why it was an outlier. Now, it was also wrong because he won in a way that Emerson didn't predict either. Nobody predicted the explosion of under 30 voters, which was of historic proportion there.
So how do you plan to change the way you campaign? In the last couple of weeks, people were saying Mamdani was able to campaign in a way that folks will study and teach. Looking at that model of how he campaigned, are you taking some of what he did now?
Look, he used social media very effectively. He's an actor. His family is in the film business, and he used that medium well. That's great as a tactic, except substance matters, right? And the ability to actually do what you say you're going to do matters. And the ability to be effective matters. The ability to manage matters. Experience matters. He has great slogans, but none of it will change anything that you see in this city.
But this is different for you. You just took the train here. You're not wearing a suit and tie. Are we going to see a different Andrew Cuomo to attract the voter you're talking about, that youthful voter that has now registered and will vote again in November?
Well, look, I've run a lot of campaigns. I've lost campaigns. I've won campaigns. So I'm campaigning the way I've always campaigned. The aberration was what I did in the primary, where I played it safe. I was not aggressive enough, uncharacteristically. So I'm going to run my race this year the way I feel comfortable, and that is meeting New Yorkers and talking to New Yorkers and connecting with New Yorkers
On
directly.
Tuesday, President Trump was asked about this very race, and he said, he seems like he could win it, meaning you. And then he went on to say that your opponent is a communist. What did you think of what the president had to say about you? Do you want his support?
No, the president is a Republican, but I'm a Democrat. The president calls him a communist. He's a socialist. But this has been going on for a long time, Dan. This has been an internal fight within the Democratic Party. And I have been fighting this socialist theory for many, many years. They are anti-business. They're anti-corporation, which means they're anti-job. You were there when I had Amazon set up to build a national headquarters in Queens. 25,000 new jobs. And the socialists stopped it. You were there when they were arguing to defund the police and cut the police. And I argued against it, and I added police on the state side to compensate. This has been going on for years. I think a socialist theory doesn't work for New York. How do you have a socialist city in a capitalist nation?
But about Trump, he said you could win it rather than Eric Adams. So he didn't support the person that you say that he has a relationship with.
Well, look, when Eric Adams had charges brought against him, it is the president who directly intervened and had the charges dropped because Eric Adams became very cooperative with Donald Trump. I mean, that's a fact. I think what he was saying is his political analysis of the race, because he's a New Yorker, his political analysis was that I have a strong chance to beat what he calls a communist. He's actually, in my opinion, not a communist. He's a socialist, but he says communist socialist. What's the difference?
Yeah, let me talk about this idea of the September poll. And meaning if it's you, Jim Walden, Eric Adams, whoever's not the front runner should drop out. Eric Adams, I spoke to him about this. He said he has a master's in public policy, but a PhD in Cuomo, and that this was 100% fabricated by you, and that you will not drop out if you're not the front runner. What is your response?
It's a lie. It's a lie.
So you will...
And it's not his first one. But it's very simple to find out. Call Jim Walden, who initiated the idea, and say, is it your idea or did Cuomo give you the idea, right? Just find the truth.
Did you coordinate at all with Jim Walden?
No.
Do you want Jim Walden to drop out?
It was a lie. And if you make a phone call, you will find out.
I have Jim Walden, I'm interviewing him tomorrow, but do you want Jim Walden to drop out of the race since he is polling around 1%?
We want the strongest candidate because Zohran is an existential threat to New York City. He's an existential threat to the economy, to public safety, and Eric Adams agrees with that. I agree with that. So we need the strongest candidate to run against him.
Eric Adams said to me that he 100% is not dropping out of the race if he's not the front runner in this poll. So do you think, and you said you will, right? You will if it's not.
Yes, I will.
So how do you, if he doesn't, and you are the front runner, how do you garner enough votes? Do you think you pull from each other and it automatically secures a Mamdani win?
Well, look, if you're saying that Adams says even though he's the weaker candidate, he won't drop out, then he may as well endorse Zohran Mamdani and get it over with, right? Because then he would just be a spoiler and he would be guaranteeing the assemblyman's election. And if he wants to support the assemblyman, let him just support the assemblyman.
He said that you also called him and texted him and had these conversations, Eric Adams, to drop out of the race. Did you at any point from primary night until today speak to Eric Adams?
No, I said the strongest candidate should go forward.
You spoke to him?
We texted with him. And the strongest candidate should go forward. And everybody agrees with that. If you divide the vote, he's going to win. And the primary was all about the socialists versus the moderates, right? Eric and I were the moderates. Eric dropped out of the primary because he was not competitive with Democrats. And then it was the socialists versus me. And they ran 6 socialists against Cuomo, the moderate. All my life I was too liberal. Now, according to the socialists, I'm a moderate, which is a bad thing. But Eric Adams is a moderate. They call, I'm a moderate. But we both agree Zohran would be bad for the city.
So how do you look at this moving towards November, since the moderates you're talking about and some of these, the Brooklyn Democrats, some of the unions that endorsed you have already moved on? They've moved on to Mamndani, DC 37, Brooklyn Democrats. How do you now pull support when you're losing it?
You will have many of the institutions that do business with the city supporting Zohran because he is the odds-on favorite. But He's running on the Democratic line, but he's not a Democrat. He is a socialist. Not a communist, as the president says, but he is a socialist. I am a Democrat. I have been all my life. My father was before me. So I'm a Democrat.
Which is why some might say you lost. You lost the Democratic line. And you're a Democrat who has always said that you should support the Democrat. He's on the ballot as a Democrat. You're on the ballot as an independent. Is there something to say about the Democratic Party then looking at that?
The Democratic vote in this primary was disproportionately young and socialist. And they're running a socialist on the Democratic Party. That's what is happening.
Okay, so I also asked Cuomo again about the idea of this September poll. Will he pull out of the race if he's not the leading contender to go up against Mamdani? Here's what he had to say.
If you don't win that and you drop out, who do you support?
If I am not the strongest candidate, I will not run. I will defer.
And who do you
let
support?
Eric Adams run.
Who do you support?
I'm going to be the strongest candidate, so I'm not going to get
But if you're not? Okay.
If. We will see, right? You also saw in the interview Cuomo telling me to talk to Jim Walden about the potential coalition among the independent candidates. So guess what? I'm doing just that. New York City mayoral candidate Jim Walden joining me right after a break.
You're watching PIX on Politics with Dan Mannarino.
And welcome back to PIX on Politics, everybody. In addition to Mayor Adams' re-election bid as an independent candidate, as well as Andrew Cuomo's rebooted campaign, there is another candidate on the independent line, Jim Walden, and he is back joining me now. So, Mr. Walden, great to have you back.
Thank you so much for having me.
You just heard from Andrew Cuomo right there talk about this plan for a September poll. Mayor Adams says this was not hatched by anybody else other than Andrew Cuomo. So Andrew Cuomo told me to talk to you about it. Whose idea was it?
It was mine. I think Eric Adams has Andrew Cuomo living rent-free in his head. I've been very critical of Andrew Cuomo. Anyone that's been following me on social media knows that I have many disagreements with Cuomo, who I've known for years and sued his administration multiple times.
Did you ever talk to him, have a conversation about this?
Zero. This was my idea. And frankly, when people started saying that it was his idea, that was weird to me, but it doesn't really matter. The poll was for one group of people only, New Yorkers. Right? It is better for New Yorkers to have a single free market candidate against a single socialist candidate and to make a decision, in my humble view.
So can you explain how it would work? Who conducts the poll? Now, Andrew Cuomo won't call it a poll, but who conducts the poll? Who pays for it? What are the questions being asked? Who's surveyed?
Yeah, so I left all that open because I intended for collaboration. I mean, the idea for this came from what happened with the Democrats at ranked choice voting. The Campaign Finance Board allowed them to collaborate and have all of these conversations that were all in private until they were announced. Mm-hmm. My idea was total transparency. So we have a group discussion that can be televised for all I care, that figures out who's going to conduct the poll, how many people, et cetera, when the poll's going to be conducted, and then the poll is taken. It's announced publicly. We have a press conference, and the three people that polled the worst support the poll that's best. If the CFB allows that, that was the entire idea for the poll.
If that person's not you, you will support whoever it is.
Yes, but I just want to say one thing about this because I've been asked multiple times. I've obviously called out all of the other candidates for corruption, craven behavior, incompetence, et cetera. So people have said, well, how could you possibly support one of those people over Mamdani? And my perspective is, listen, I wish I could exhume Mother Teresa and have her be one of the other candidates in the race, but we have what we have. I think that this is a critically important choice for New York, and they deserve a clean choice between a socialist economy and a free market economy, and that choice will be clarified if it's a one-on-one race.
Plan sounds great in theory if everybody's agreed to it. You agree to it. Andrew Cuomo says he agrees to it. Eric Adams told me, heck no. Curtis Sliwa said, heck no. Right. So now what?
Well, I think that we have to give people a little bit of time. I mean, the idea, whatever I
They said there is zero chance they follow through with this. They are in it till November.
And you see what happens in politics all the time. Things change, poll numbers change, some new scandal comes out. This has been the frothiest election as a first-time candidate. My God, what a rodeo this has been. But so much has changed, and my perspective is, I'm the calm ship in a storm, right? I'm the captain, I'm looking at the horizon. I'm not worried about the waves crashing. Whether Eric Adams and Curtis Lee will sign up or not, if they sign up, great. Then we still have to get regulatory approval. If they don't sign up, then we're going to have a race. I'll be in it until the end, and that'll be what it'll be.
Which brings me to you, right? With what you're looking at right now, current polling just last week had you at 1%.
Right.
So is this something you really think you can win, or whittle the field down now, give somebody else a chance?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to be daunted by one poll, particularly a micro poll in
It wasn't
an
just
election.
one poll, Jim. I mean, the other polls, respectfully, have had you trailing.
No, totally. I mean, even your poll had me at 6% before the primary, or 7% against Andrew Cuomo. Where was Zohran Mamdani 5 months ago? Right, he was at 1%. He had less name recognition than me. So listen, this is New York, man. I'm going to be running a very spirited, energetic campaign that honestly is unlike things that other people have seen in any campaign. I'm going to be the athletic, energetic person. I'm jumping out of planes. I'm going into communities and doing fun things while having deeply thoughtful policies that are achievable and rely on free market solutions.
So let's talk about some of those, right?
Please.
Because when you look at the Democratic nominee, Zohran Mamdani, he hit on something, registering these young voters, which was affordability.
Yeah.
And that's a big issue. So is there anything he's saying that you actually agree with on affordability?
I agree with all of the objectives, 100%. But more than that, I believe that his policies are unachievable. David Solomon from Goldman Sachs just today released a statement talking about how devastating a rent freeze would be for the rent-stabilized portfolio. I've got a better plan.
What is it?
Well, step number one is to provide interim relief to those people that are severely rent-burdened. There are about 440,000 New Yorkers that are rent-burdened, and about a third of those people are severely rent-burdened, meaning they pay 50% or more of their income in rent. So I'm going to take $1 billion of money, in part from the surplus, give them direct subsidies while we build more. And my housing plan has a new rent-stabilized program that is contract-based, that is going to get people down to 25% of their income. That's affordability. So freezing the rents doesn't help when rents are already too high.
That's on the rent front, right? But there are other aspects. Mamdani has talked about taxing the rich to pay for some of his plans. Are you in favor of taxing the rich?
No, I'm not a big believer in capital flight. I mean, we need to grow our business base. We need more wealthy people in the city because they pay roughly 50% of the taxes that we need for our safety net. So if we want a strong safety net, and 30 years I've been fighting in part for those sorts of things that make our strong safety net for New Yorkers. We need a bigger, more vibrant business base. We need new industries here for good paying jobs with benefits. That comes with the free market. It doesn't come with socialism.
Well, he was saying the taxes pay for some of his programs like free buses. You're saying you agree with a lot of it. So something like a free bus, free childcare, free education. How do you pay for it?
Yeah, I don't believe in freebies, right? I believe in support for people for a period of time that's necessary to lift them up.
Okay.
My Kids in Poverty program, no one's talking about the 29,000 kids in poverty every year. I'm the only candidate in the race that actually put it as part of my housing plan, a value-added tax on development that will provide a safety net for kids in poverty so that by the time they're adults, they can have a nest egg that could fundamentally change their lives. Right? Today, I just put out a policy on entrepreneurism with kids. It's called Shark Tank for Kids in New York City. It's going to be a vibrant program to try to get kids involved in the free market through a competition that'll be citywide.
Yeah.
Those are the kinds of free market ideas that I think will energize and excite people.
Let me ask you what we saw play out this week. This crazy rainstorm flooded areas of Manhattan. Subway system was crippled by it, right? Who should control the MTA if you were the mayor?
Well, we should control the subways, period. And I don't
mayor.
The mayor should. And I don't even mean control in the sense of I don't want permission to manage. I want the subways back. I mean, the MTA, for lots of different reasons, is a terrible steward of our transportation. The subway is the biggest example. It's not clean. It often doesn't run on time. It's got these epic infrastructure problems. And we can't even get subways that we can be proud of, like the ones in London and Tokyo. So I think local control is critical. It goes alongside with what I've been saying all over the place. We need the ability to determine our own economic, housing, transportation fate. We need more of the power back from Albany in New York City.
And now that I've heard some of your plans, and this is not my first time talking to you, so I know some of your plans, looking again just at what takes place in September, if nobody drops out, and you all move forward to November, does that guarantee a Mamdani win?
Well, based on the data that I have right now, it seems like a more likely scenario. Guarantee, I can't say guarantee. A lot could change. I mean, there are new revelations coming about Mamdani and things that he said in the past every day. It's a very frothy experience when you have so many candidates that have so much baggage of one kind or another. I am the only candidate in the race that has no baggage.
But
right?
you will drop out if you're not the leader in that poll, regardless of what the others do.
No, I didn't say that I was going to drop out. I'm going to.
Well, that's the whole idea of this poll is.
No, if the other candidates sign up to the poll, and we have a poll, and it's a large cohort, right? Because one of the problems with polls is just the number of people and the parties from which they're chosen. So you need a representation of what happened in the 2021 election. If everyone signs up to that poll, and I'm not the front runner, even by 1 point, I'll drop out.
Okay. Got it there. We're going to leave it there. Mr.
Sure.
Walden, we'll talk to you along the way. Thank you for being here. All right. Up next, everybody, Democratic nominee for New York City Mayor Zohran Mamdani heads to Washington to get support from local leaders on Capitol Hill. Pick some politics back in just 2 minutes. Welcome back. This week, Zohran Mamdani paid a visit to Washington, D.C. Mamdani facing scrutiny from Republicans, including the president, who called him a communist. But the Democrats who we spoke to praised the young candidate.
It's just beautiful to have someone who is so authentic.
He's going to be a great mayor of New York City. I think the issues that he's campaigning on, the need to create a city that is affordable for working class people, is exactly what has to happen in New York.
We were just learning skills from him, communication skills.
Mamdani is waiting on some key endorsements, most notable from House Minority Leader and New York Congressman Hakeem Jeffries. And with that, everybody, we'll be right back. And next week, New Jersey gubernatorial candidate on the Democratic line, Mikey Sherrill, joins the show. That'll do it for us today. We'll see you next time.